Did you know? Underneath its cheery exterior, Pokemon has its fair share of dark secrets. A recurring theme in the series involves the ghosts of humans, with one of the creepiest examples being in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. The Elite Four trainer Phoebe specializes in ghost Pokemon, but she also has a connection with human spirits. In the dialogue leading to Phoebe's League battle, just as the camera fades to black, a girl can be seen sitting in the chair behind her for a brief instant. The camera then cuts to this girl's point of view as she seems to stand up and approach the player. After the camera cuts again, the girl can be seen standing next to the player, with her face barely visible. Nobody is certain of her purpose, if any at all. Phoebe frequently trains at Mount Pyre, a Pokemon gravesite where she also developed her supernatural talents. During the game's story, the player obtains the red and blue orbs at the mountain's summit, guarded by an old married couple. After the events with Kyogre and Groudon in the original games, the orbs can be returned to the summit with the couple still there. The remakes have the player keep the orbs, but if they head back to Mount Pyre, they'll find just the old man at the summit, with the woman nowhere to be found. After beating the Delta episode, Phoebe can be found near the summit, talking and laughing with seemingly nobody. She'll ask what the player is doing here. If they say training, she mentions coming here to visit her grandmother, and if they say they're paying respects, Phoebe will say that her grandmother was just talking about them, and how they left a lasting impression on her. Through the Trainer's Eyes feature, Phoebe mentions her grandma residing on the mountain. This all but confirms the woman is Phoebe's grandma, and that she's still able to communicate with her granddaughter from beyond the grave. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl's old chateau was long since abandoned by its original owner, but ghosts still reside here. The ghost of a butler can be found sitting at a table. As the player walks further into the room, the ghost will head off-screen and vanish. Another ghost is a young girl that appears after entering the fourth room from the left. She'll appear in the next room to the right, look toward the player, then leave, never to be seen on the other side. The player can't interact with the ghosts, and their appearance isn't guaranteed, so players may never see them at all. These ghosts may be illusions caused by the ghost Pokemon that live in the chateau. All members of the Ghastly line can be found in the chateau, and there's a room specifically where Gengar can be found. In this room, there's a portrait where its eyes follow the player. In Pokemon Black and White, the ghost of a little girl can appear on the Marvelous Bridge. If the player tries to approach her, she disappears, and an old woman will explain a girl used to play in the same area with her pet Abra before the bridge was built. The same ghost girl would reappear in Pokemon Black and White 2 in the Strange House. The ghost girl talks about an everlasting nightmare, crying out for her parents and pet Abra. She later mentions the Lunar Wing item, saying a voice in her dreams told her to forget about finding it and to instead stay with them. She believed this voice to be her father's. When the player finds the wing, she says to give it to the Pokemon Cresselia, and that she waited on the bridge to return it herself, but can't anymore. The Lunar Wing is said to ward off nightmares, which are frequently caused by Cresselia's polar opposite, Darkrai. Entries for both Pokemon also appear in passages found in the house's library. Given all the evidence, it's believed a malicious Darkrai tormented the little girl with terrible nightmares, ultimately scaring her to death. Another startling apparition appears in Pokemon X and Y. Taking the elevator to the second floor of the fighting dojo in Lumiose City will cause the music to stop and the screen to flash. After this, a girl with the model of a Hex Maniac appears behind the player and walks past them with no walk animation. They then utter the phrase, "No, you're not the one," and disappear off screen. No further interaction with this girl takes place. Some players theorized the girl would play a role in some kind of in-game event at a later date, but to this day, nothing has come about. This mystery has been taken back to the source, being acknowledged by Pokemon X and Y director Junichi Masuda. In an interview with Kotaku, Masuda was asked about the Ghost Girl, but acted coy, claiming the team had never put such a thing in the game. Kotaku's Patricia Hernandez said, "I showed Masuda the video, which he watched intently intently, and once the ghost girl came on screen, he sort of laughed and went, "Ooh." In fact, he said, "Ooh," multiple times during our exchange, sort of with a smirk, but he didn't say more about it. Later, in 2014, the Japanese Pokemon website made a whole page devoted to the ghost girl, noting that she can only be met once. The page also included screenshots of an earlier event in the game, when the player enters Route 14's scary house and meets a man who tells a story about a horde of faceless men. The man asks for a tip after telling his story, but if the player chooses not to, he warns them they'll see something scary. The fact this scene was referenced on the Ghost Girl's page made some believe the two events were connected. Ultimately, none of these theories panned out, and the true meaning behind the character was never revealed. In Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, a Hex Maniac Trainer can be found on Mount Pyre. When spoken to, she utters the exact same line spoken by the XY Ghost Girl. In the Japanese version of the Gen 3 games, Hex Maniacs appear to be possessed. While their sprite has visible pupils in the Western release, the Japanese game has their eyes pure white. Many Pokemon have disturbing origins, notably several psychic types. Kadabra is said to have once been a human boy. The boy had extrasensory powers he couldn't control, and when he awoke from bed one morning, he had become a Kadabra. Drowsy is based on the Baku, a Japanese mythological figure that commonly takes the form of a tapir and is said to eat people's dreams. The Baku is even referenced by name in Pokemon Fire Red and Stadium, as well as the anime, saying Drowsy is a direct descendant of the creature. Its evolved form, Hypno, has frequently been depicted as more of a serious threat. Pokédex entries from Sun and Moon have stated that while it rarely harms people, it's still an extremely dangerous Pokemon. Its Fire Red entry states there was once an incident where a Hypno hypnotized a child and took it away, and it's also said to appear by empty roads and schoolyards at dusk. In Fire Red and Leaf Green Sevi Islands, a young girl named Lost Elle is separated from her father in the Berry Forest, asking the player to save her from a wild Hypno that scared her. There's also a line of adult-oriented Pokemon t-shirts released in 2008 called Pokemon 151, with Hypno being one of the first 4 designs. The Sleeper 097 shirt depicts a Hypno leading along 2 children by the hand, with the children presumably being hypnotized. The line was officially made available to American fans in 2016. However, the Hypno design never saw a release stateside. There's also several Pokemon whose existence is tied to human death. Yamask was born from the souls of buried humans, retaining their memories and carrying a mask resembling their former face. Yamask is based on the Death Mask, a practice where, following death, a likeness of the person's face is created by making an impression with a wax cast. Its Japanese name is even Desmas, which can be seen as a combination of death and mask. Similarly, Phantump are created from the spirits of children who die while lost in the forest. These children possess tree stumps and become this Pokemon. The creation of Ghastly is also said to involve gases in graveyards being possessed by the grievances of the dead, and Gengar is said to have been human itself, taking people's lives in an attempt to find a companion. Both evolutions of the ice-type Snorunt also have ties to human life. Legends say Glalie was formed when a mountain boulder absorbed a stranded climber's regrets and anguish. Frostlass, being based on the yokai Yuki Onna, was the result of a woman's lost soul in the mountains possessing an icicle. Frostlass also freezes creatures it likes and takes them back to its den, where it's said to display them as decorations. On blizzarding nights, it appears near human settlements and will even knock on doors to lure its victims. The most coveted prey of Frostlass are the souls of men, particularly handsome men. Ultra Sun and Moon have another instance of a ghost in a side quest some players won't even come across. After beating Hala's grand trial, the player can talk to a youngster on Big Wave Beach. The youngster will tell them rumors of a ghost girl at the trainer's school, an area that's empty and plays ominous music at night. The only person there is a young girl accompanied by a Drifloon, who will give the player several mysteries to solve around the school. The girl's dialogue is choppy, often making the mystery mystery sound darker than it truly is. She describes one mystery as, at night, near burning place, someone burning and crying, you hear girl's voice. When the actual event was a girl burning love letters she wrote to a now taken crush. After solving all of the mysteries, the girl says she came to Alola from another country and doesn't speak the language very well, but is thankful for the player's help. Soon after, the school's janitor appears and asks why the player is at the school at this hour. When they try to explain, the girl has vanished, with the janitor saying the player was alone when he saw them. A child's notebook in one of the classrooms makes note of when the child stayed late after school, seeing a hypno show up with the intent of picking up the new student. 9 days later, the book says a Drifloon came to pick up the girl, though the next page in the book has been torn out. It seems the greatest mystery surrounding the school still remains unsolved. Did you also know that rumors of the Nintendo Switch first spread in 2014 under the name Nintendo Fusion, or that several Nintendo DS developers had inventive ways of stopping pirates from playing their games? For more facts, check out our videos on Nintendo Switch rumors and Nintendo DS piracy.